Okay, thank you, Gary. So I also want to ask another question. Do you think that young people should look into opportunities in mainland China or go to Western countries to deepen their eyesight?
Well, I think that you should always look. You should always understand the world around you. And what makes Hong Kong so special, and it's always been this special, and it will always continue to be this special, is that it really is the place where the world collides, right? Where the quote unquote Western countries and the quote unquote Eastern countries collide in one place, and it is Hong Kong. There's no other place in the world where these two hemispheres come together so distinctly in such an integrated way than here in Hong Kong. And that's always going to make Hong Kong special. And if you grow up here in Hong Kong and you're educated here, if you don't look around the world and understand the Eastern and the Western, the Chinese and the American and the European and everywhere else, Southeast Asian, if you don't understand everything, then you are completely missing the advantage of your hometown. That said, I still think that the Hong Kong students' first port of call should be here in Hong Kong. I think the opportunities available to you guys as you graduate to really make a difference in the world is here in this city. And so absolutely, I believe that you should understand the world. So travel around mainland China, travel around the United States and Europe and everywhere in the world, understand those communities, those cultures, those people, the differences, the tensions, the opportunities. But also remember that your hometown is really, really special. And that if you want to accomplish something that is world changing, you can definitely do it from here.
Mm-hmm. So as you said that there are many opportunities in Hong Kong, but and we have many cultures from Western, from Chinese. But how do you think Hong Kong people should position themselves in the global markets? Like, are we the leader or are we the coordinators?
Those two things do not have to be mutually exclusive. I think the next generation of leadership is going to come from people who can actually bridge the gap between two groups. Okay, that is going to be increasingly the most important skill set, because this march to globalization, that's not going to stop, right? As much as you might be hearing, if you're reading the news, as much as you might be hearing, people talk about decoupling, right? How China and the United States are going to decouple. Trust me, if you spend any time with people who actually understand the global economy, the global, financial markets, or the way that capital flows, the global trade routes, no one truly believes that globalization is stopped and that we're going to decouple. No one believes that. No one thinks that is practical. So, okay, if we are going to continue down the path of globalization, then what we are going to need more and more of in the future are people who can bridge two worlds. And the fact that you guys grew up here in Hong Kong and are educated here in Hong Kong, and I know that we have students and friends and classmates on this call that did not grow up here in Hong Kong, but the fact that you're being educated here in Hong Kong and you have access to these two worlds, and you can see, and you have leaders, right? Not me, but many other leaders who are the best in the world at bridging those two worlds. You have to take advantage of that. You have to learn from those people and realize that is a very, very unique skill set that you can develop that most people around the world do not have.
Mm-hmm. So as you mentioned, so I think maybe we have to go to the last question because running out of time. So that CMP has Student of the Year award, and you mentioned that Hong Kong people have so many opportunities and we have to face different worlds. So in your mind, so what is a model student should be, and how should they grab these opportunities?
That's good. Okay, so I actually have a more or less a prepared answer for this, because we have been talking about this for Student of the Year for several years now. And the short answer, Moon, to a really, really good question is that I think the quote unquote model Student of the Year, and by the way, just to be clear, there isn't a prototype. There isn't there isn't an archetype There is no mold that we want you to fit into to win Student of the Year, okay? So I want to make that clear. But I think the students over the course of the last few years that have won have two things in common. Of course, and by the way, the table stakes is that they're excellent students and they have done something new and innovative and they've just worked really hard. But they have two other things in common. The first is they are somewhat well-rounded. So they are not just great at one thing. They have tried to make themselves into people who understand many things. And the second, and I would argue the more important thing that they have is that they have empathy. And what I mean by that is that when they think about their work and their effort and their accolades, the things that they've won, the things that they've been able to accomplish, they always think about it in context of how my skill set can give back to the world, or specifically give back to Hong Kong. And the way that we can see that is because the most important step of the Student of the Year judging is the interview. And so we bring every single finalist in and we spend time with them and we talk to them and we ask them questions and they tell us their story. And the ones that win are the ones that are framing their story, framing their success as a product of the people that have always supported them and the reason why this success matters as a contribution back to the city or to the world, right? That level of empathy at such a young age for Student of the Year is very unique. And I honestly think that is a great signal of somebody who's developing into a great person.
As you said, you spent many time with the young people that want to have this award. So do you see any changes and differences that are selected over the past few years?
I think it's that difference. I think that over the course of the last few years that I've been here, we have seen more and more students realize that their role is not just to study and get high grades. That their role is to take everything they've learned and pour it back out and contribute back to society. And that switch has been so heartening. It's been very, very encouraging for the city.